The pandemic really was a crazy time, huh? While the world faced horrors of a virus and of isolation, movies and the people who made them faced their own bevy of problems. With theaters across the country mostly shutting down, some films really suffered because of it. One such film was 2020's The Dark and the Wicked, written and directed by established horror veteran Bryan Bertino. Bertino's name should ring a bell as he was the writer and director of the classic 2008's The Strangers. While The Dark and the Wicked did have a limited theatrical run and did appear at a few film festivals, attendance to those was less than stellar due to the limitations of, the pandemic. So Bertino signed a deal and his new movie would release to streaming. Shudder got the streaming rights, and the rest is history. Bryan Bertino has only directed 4 movies, all of which he also wrote, and his 2 highest rated films are The Strangers and The Dark and the Wicked, which both are sitting at a 6.1 out of 10 on IMDB. From that, I assume that Bertino is pretty selective with the projects he chooses, as well as having pretty decent creative control over his work. So let's check out The Dark and the Wicked and see if it's worth your time. Welcome to the HellBound Horror Show. The Dark and the Wicked mostly takes place at this goat farm, and in real life, this farm is owned by director Bryan Bertino's family, so that's pretty cool. An elderly father is bedridden and is slowly dying. He's catatonic and on his last leg of life. His wife takes care of him all day and all night, and it's at night where strange things begin to happen. The 2 children of this couple, Louise and Michael, come to the farm and visit as they await their father's impending death. The mother is obviously overwhelmed with the stress, and she seems distant and strange to her own children. She warns her kids to leave, and she tells them that they shouldn't have come.
I told y'all not to come.
That night, while everyone is asleep, the elderly mother prepares dinner for the next day, and then... Oh, she starts chopping up her own fingers as if they were onions. Now, I figured this would have been a dream sequence or maybe a hallucination, but no, it happened. In the morning, Michael and Louise find their mother hanged in the barn. What an opening. It's mysterious, dark, somber, and heart-wrenching. The atmosphere is thick and you get such a palpable sense of dread. They find their mother's diary the next day, and by reading through it, they begin to understand what was going through her mind the last few days. Now, the family isn't religious. None of them believe in God, but the mother had been writing a lot about religious themes towards the end of her life. She believed that something had grabbed a hold of the father, and it wouldn't let him go. She believed the devil had been watching them and had been toying with her. The children begin to experience some of this wickedness. It seems a local priest had been visiting the farm and feeding religious ideologies to their mother. He told her how Jesus could save them. The children are obviously upset at the priest for preying on their mother's vulnerability to serve his own agenda. While not getting into too much of the spoiler realm, there is a moment with the priest a little bit later in the film which is one of the most bone-chilling scenes that I've ever seen. It's so freaking good. The scene at night with the priest is perfect nightmare fuel and is something that can haunt you for the rest of your life. I love it. Can Louise and Michael stop the evil from taking their father? Can they avoid succumbing to the evil themselves? Is there any way to escape it, or are they merely just sheep waiting for slaughter by the big, bad wolf? The Dark and the Wicked is atmospheric beyond belief. The film requires you to throw away some logic. You gotta understand that things won't be spoon-fed to you, and instead focus on the emotions of the characters as well as the tension that surrounds them. The film is driven by its raw emotion and tangible atmosphere, not by its story or logic. The cast apparently kept asking director Bryan Bertino, why does the devil go after this family? Bertino kept responding with, it's like blood in the water and the shark is coming. People grieving would be easy prey. Just turn off your brain and enjoy the ride. While the setting, atmosphere, and emotion are all top notch, the film isn't perfect. Some will claim that it's slow. And while the film is very slow, the film's intention was to be slow. It's methodically slow, much like The Strangers. But unlike The Strangers, The Dark and the Wicked relies too heavily on its jump scares. These aren't bottom-of-the-barrel jump scares like you would find in modern Hollywood movies. They're totally fine, but they seem to conflict with the brooding style. Let me explain. Both The Strangers and The Dark and the Wicked are very subtle with their scares. In The Strangers, there weren't a lot of musical stings. One of my favorite scenes in The Strangers is when Liv Tyler is getting water near the beginning of the film, and someone walks into the unfocused background of the frame. There's no musical sting to accompany it, thus becoming unsettling. You begin to think to yourself, what other scenes had someone else in the background that I just didn't notice? And all of a sudden, a sense of paranoia sets in. I have to keep my eyes open and pay attention. The movie's not going to tell me when something is off, so I have to keep my head on a swivel and examine every background. Meanwhile, in The Dark and the Wicked, similar scenes take place with something appearing in the background, but instead of being subtle and allowing the audience to find it, the musical sting happens before you even realize someone or something is even there. So you're conditioned to realize that the music is going to alert you if something is scary, and some of that dread and tension is lost in the process. Yes, you get a jump, but no lasting fear. Now, not every moment is telegraphed with a musical sting, so there are still some effectively creepy scenes, like the aforementioned scene with the priest. There are some brooding moments for sure that will definitely stick with you. The Dark and the Wicked is uneven. It's a beautiful, somber film about aging parents and dealing with loss. The ending, though, is a bit lackluster and the plot doesn't really conclude. There are moments of brilliance, but also moments of silly decisions, bad CGI, and just plain sloppiness in the plot. The Dark and the Wicked doesn't do anything original. It's all been done before, but it's done well enough here to at least make it enjoyable. The Strangers was the same way. It wasn't super original, but it was done well enough. I prefer the French 2006 film Elle compared to The Strangers, and I feel like there are better films that tread similar ground compared to The Dark and the Wicked. That doesn't mean that I don't recommend The Dark and the Wicked, because I totally do. Just know that it's not the end-all be-all. But it is an enjoyable time, especially if you're looking for something with a lot of emotion and a lot of atmosphere. And that's all I have for tonight. So thank you so much for watching, and stay spooky, everyone. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoy this content and want to support the channel, please consider subscribing or by buying me a coffee in the description below. Any little bit helps. Thank you. Bye.